Last week, we covered the leaders of the Chauncy Aero Club of Chicago. This week, on our final episode and video of Volume 1, we cover other notable aviators of this historic organization. Welcome to the Melanated Wings Collection, presented by Better Endeavors, LLC. This week's episode, Volume 1, Episode 16, Part 2, will cover members Grover C. Nash, Chauncy Spencer, Dale White, and Lewis Jackson of the Chauncy Aero Club. Grover C. Nash was born on April 4, 1911 in Dry Branch, Georgia. He attempted admission to numerous flight schools in New York, Michigan, and Pennsylvania, and was denied to all of them due to his race. This led Nash to find and join the Chauncy Aero Club in 1931. Nash earned his Master Mechanic Certificate from Curtiss Wright in 1933. He then bought his own monoplane and named it the Little Annie that same year. On May 19, 1938, during National Airmail Week, Grover became the first black pilot to fly mail. He was the first of 146 aviators to provide mail to small towns that had not received mail from the United States Postal Service. Even though airmail service was started in 1918, it was limited to large cities. Small towns, especially predominantly black towns, were not serviced. The USPS only hired white pilots at the time as well. When interviewed by the Chicago Defender, Nash said he simply thought to himself, "Why are there no black airmail pilots? What is there about this that makes it all white? Dark men do just about everything else Americans do. Why can't they fly her mails?" In response, the USPS commissioned Nash and one other black pilot, Theodore Cable. During World War II, Nash was the senior mechanical instructor at the USA Aircraft Mechanical School. By the end of his career, Grover amassed over 8,000 flight hours. In 1947, he became a teacher for aviation mechanics at Dunbar Vocational High School. He reached retirement, moved to Los Angeles, California with his family, and passed away on August 10, 1970. Chauncy Spencer was born on November 5, 1906 in Lynchburg, Virginia. His father, Edward Spencer, owned a grocery store and worked at the post office. His mother, Annie Bethel Bannister Spencer, was the librarian and a teacher at Dunbar High School, as well as the founder of the National Association of Colored People, NAACP, local chapter. Chauncy grows interested in aviation when first seeing an airplane in 1917. He received his degree in sociology from Virginia Theological Seminary and College in 1930. He departed to Chicago when employed by the Work Project Administration, WPA, from 1933 to 1935. During this time, he joined the Chauncy Aero Club and learned how to fly. He and fellow member Dale White set out on a goodwill flight to Washington, D.C. in 1939. Dale White was born in 1899 in Minden, Louisiana. He moved to Chicago in 1930 and began studying under Coffey and Robinson in 1932. White obtained his pilot's license in June 1936 and became an active member of the club in 1939. On May 8, 1939, Dale and Spencer embarked on their famous Goodwill flight. This was a 3,000-mile round trip from Chicago to Washington, D.C. The purpose of this flight was to prove to all the skills and experience of black aviators. Once landing in D.C., the pair met with Senators Slattery and Dixon. White also ran into Harry S. Truman, who eventually became the 33rd President of the United States and enacted Executive Order No. 9981, which ended racial discrimination and segregation in all U.S. Armed Forces. This Goodwill flight also helped result in the Creation Civilian Pilots Training Program, CPTP. After returning to Chicago, the club was incorporated as NAAA, and Dale was elected vice president. White sought to join the Tuskegee Airmen in 1941, but was deemed too old. He retired as a pilot in June 1941 at the request of his wife. Dale converted his skills to be a mechanic for Wright-Patterson's Field in Dayton, Ohio, and retired in 1971. White passed away in 1977. His flight suit, goggles, helmet, and scarf from his Goodwill flights are currently on display in Baron Hilton Pioneers of Flight Gallery at the DC Museum. Chauncy married his wife Annie in 1940. He was also deemed too old for the Tuskegee Airmen in 1941. He was an employed civilian employee at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base near Dayton, Ohio. He was also assigned to ensure that Executive Order No. 8802, which banned discriminatory employee practices by federal agencies and all unions and companies engaged in war-related work, was being complied with at Tuskegee Army Airfield. In 1953, Spencer was charged with disloyalty and accused of being a communist because of his role in military integration. He was relieved of his position and his family suffered great humiliation and economic deprivation. In June 1954, after a costly $18,000 legal battle, the Air Force cleared him of all charges. Chauncy continued to serve as an employee relations officer at San Bernardino Air Force Base in California. Spencer retired from the military in 1959 and became a security officer at San Bernardino High School in 1962 until 1965, where he was appointed the town's police commissioner. Chauncy was also the president of the local NAACP chapter. Spencer then migrated his family to Highland Park, Michigan in 1970 to accept a position as deputy administrator. On his first day, there was a riot due to a black man being killed in a white bar by its owner. Chauncy unintentionally moved back to his hometown of Lynchburg, Virginia, to operate the Ann Spencer Memorial Foundation. He would remain here until his death on August 21, 2002. Dr. Louis A. Jackson of Xenia, Ohio, was born in Angola, Indiana. Fascinated by aircraft, he had his first ride in an airplane when he was 15. In 1929, at the age of 16, he purchased a partially completed monoplane and installed a motorcycle engine on it. In 1930, Jackson began formal flight instruction, after which he soloed in his own plane in 1932. A nearby college had denied him entrance, so he used the money he had worked hard to save to buy the plane at a Depression-era bargain price. He joined Cornelius Coffey in the Coffey and Jackson Flying School, Chicago, and also completed advanced acrobatic training at the Chicago School of Aeronautics in 1940. Later that year, he went to Tuskegee, where, after teaching all ground school subjects, procuring numerous licenses and ratings in Georgia and Massachusetts, he was appointed Director of Training at the Army Air Corps 66th Flight Training Detachment, which prepared pilots who would eventually fly in the 99th Pursuit Squadron, the famed Tuskegee Airmen. As director, Jackson guided the school to high standards of performance, and on 3 different occasions, the students ranked first when compared to the other 22 schools in the Southeast Army Air Corps Training Command. After the war, Jackson moved back to Ohio to teach at Wilberforce College and then Central State University. Here, he also became an FAA flight examiner and developed an aircraft computer called a nav kit. He was appointed to the FAA Citizens Advisory Committee, president of the Experimental Aircraft Association chapter, and a member of the Aircraft Owners and Pilots Association and the Aviation Pioneers. An airplane in every garbage. That was a goal of Dr. Jackson. Until a few months before his death, he was still working on such a design, a roadable airplane that would accommodate the common man, an airplane which could be stored at home and towed or driven to the airport. In 1956, he created and flew the Versatile 1, the first of 10 experimental airplanes developed to serve as both an airplane and a car. The idea was to drive it to the airport, take off, return, and then drive it home. In the early 1960s, Dr. Jackson created and flew a different experimental plane that folded its wings for land travel. Only 16 feet long, the plane would fit in a garage once its 12-foot wingspan was folded. On the highway, it operated like a 3-wheel motorcycle, cruising at 35 to 50 miles per hour. The propeller was behind the passenger compartment, in a slot surrounded by body, wings, and tail. This design created enough attention in England to cause the editors of Jane's All the World's Aircraft to portray and describe it to their worldwide membership of subscribers. In 1948, Jackson obtained a master's degree from Miami University. In 1950, a PhD in higher education from The Ohio State University. Beginning in 1946, Dr. Jackson served in many college and university administrative positions, including Graduate Dean, Dean of Students, Vice President for Academic Affairs, Acting President and President, Central State University, and Acting President and Vice President for Administration at Sinclair Community College. One of Dr. Jackson's great interests was his entrepreneurship. In 1974, he fostered the Business Entrepreneur Program at Sinclair Community College. He firmly believed that more students should think as employers and thus be more self-reliant. That, in this way, students would be taught to create employment. Jackson served several years as a member of the Greene County Regional Airport Authority and the Board of Directors of the Xenia Area Development Corporation. In Dr. Jackson's honor, the airport outside Xenia, Ohio, is now named the Greene County Lewis A. Jackson Regional Airport, and the main library at Indiana Wesleyan University is named the Lewis A. Jackson Library. Did you enjoy the story of this organization the past couple weeks? Did you feel inspired from our Volume 1 aviators? Did you appreciate our stellar voice actor as much as we have? Leave a comment below. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to leave a like. With Volume 1 now complete, the Melanated Wings collection will be taking a short hiatus to finish preparation of Volume 2, Venturing for Equality. Volume 2 will cover the time post-World War II in America, known as both the Jet Age and the Civil Rights Movement era. Our next volume will cover the fearless aviators, scientists, engineers, and more from the years 1945 to 1968. This new Volume 2 is set for a late July release, with new episodes to begin premiering on August 19th, National Aviation Day. Subscribe to our channel and click the bell to receive notifications of these new episodes. Feel free to visit our website listed in the description below to learn more about our Volume 1 and our upcoming Volume 2 Chronicles. Our voice actor's Fiverr account can be found in the description below. As always, have an uplifting day and stay up.